that you get the full value out of the day. Please do contribute. A lot of you guys are already putting in questions and conversations. I can see things flowing already from our side. Please do ask questions. Please do let us know things that you're not clear about, unsure about, and we will try and go back and clarify that, because this conference is for you and we want to make sure that you get full value. Please do make sure of handouts. We put one handout already in the handout section on the side somewhere. There should be an option for handouts. We've got a handout from one of our sponsors, the BMA, there already. So please do make use of that. And we'll be adding handouts throughout the day into that section that you can download to use for future reference. Please do join in the polls. We'll have several polls throughout the day. There should some pop up on your screen, and please do click. They're all anonymous. We don't know who clicks what. We're not sure who's putting what, but it's really useful for us to understand our audience, to understand how we can deliver the content best to you. So please, we do encourage you to join those polls, and we try to wait till around 70% of you have clicked something before we move on. So please forgive us if we do push you to try and push buttons on your side. The public chat is not viewed on screen. We had a couple of questions already saying I can't see the chat. We're expecting 1,700, 1,800 of you to join at some point today. And when is that many people on a conference like this, the chat box can explode and get very, and lots of stuff can get hidden. We can miss lots of questions. So we see everything that you put on screen. Any question that you put to us, we will be seeing. Me and Dr. P.G will be looking through them and scanning through them. But we do keep the chat function hidden for public view, because it does get really busy when there's this many people on board. So please don't worry if you can't see the chat on your side. Everything that you've said to us, we can see. I'm seeing comments coming in as we speak, and that's really great to see. So thank you for that. So these are some of the amazing speakers that you're going to be seeing. Sorry, the slides are just shooting past. These are some of the amazing speakers that we're so lucky and so privileged to have on board with us today. They're going to share with you so many valuable tips, so many valuable insights. Like I said, tell you their personal stories, but also give you a lot of information for the particular fields that they're based in. We've got a great range of doctors. A lot of you guys will recognize these from social media. A lot of these doctors are regularly commenting and helping people all the time on social media through their various specialty streams. And we're really privileged to have some of these great faces and great names on board. And you'll be seeing them as we go through the day. And like we said, it's interactive. So any questions that you have in particular for any of these doctors that you see, we'll be introducing them one by one as we go through. Please do start putting them in the chat so we can collate them and use them and ask them these things when it comes up to their particular talk. But some great names in the lineup. And remember, this is your conference, okay? We thank you once again for giving us the time, giving us the opportunity to help you in your journey, whichever part of the journey you're in. But this is your conference, okay? We want you to take what you need from it. There is going to be vast amounts of information that come across to you today. There is no doubt about that. Some of it may be relevant, some of it may be irrelevant, some of it may be a little bit too much for the stage of career that you're on. But take from it what you need. How do you do that? Asking relevant questions, making sure you engage, and keeping in mind that although we're covering lots and lots of different topics, this is your conference, and we want you to take out exactly what you need for the stage of career that you're in right now. And hopefully this is one of the many stepping stones to great things in your career, because you guys have huge potential to do great things in the world of medicine. And we want to try and show you how many things can be achieved and give you that confidence to try and keep pushing through those barriers and challenges that are either perceived that are not there, that those are actually there as well at the same time. So I really hope that you get as much as you can from this conference. Once again, thank you so much to everybody who's just joined us right now. We're really privileged and really lucky that you're giving us this opportunity to try and help you guys. Now, a bit of introduction about us. If you haven't come across us before, if you haven't seen the kind of things that we do, I'm Dr. Aman Arora. I'm a GP now in full-time medical education. My passion, my 24/7, 365 passion is medical education, and not just helping you guys through your exams, because we've been lucky enough to help a lot of you guys in multiple exams up to this point, but also helping you maximize your potential, because your potential is huge. And one of my passions is to try and make sure that people are reaching that and understanding how much they can achieve, both in exams, but also in careers as well. I'm lucky to be a fellow of the Royal College of GPs. And I also run, along with P.G, Dr. P.G, Arora Medical Education. I have lots of previous roles involved in assessment, education. That has been my passion. I've been lucky to be a GMC PLAB examiner. I've been an appraiser for other GPs in the UK. I've been very involved in the recruitment process in terms of both GP recruitment, but also the MSRA assessment as well, writing questions and getting into the assessment side of things. I've been a training program director for GP training, and had lots of other roles within the exam sector as well. And I've also had a strong, keen interest in meditation and burnout and stress particularly in doctors. I'm a trained meditation trainer, and that's another thing that one of my passions, trying to help people through difficult times in the medical career. So that's a bit about myself. So I've hogged the limelight a little bit. I'm just going to say welcome to Dr. P.G. Aurora, who can try and introduce a little bit about herself and explain a bit more about what's coming up in the conference today.
Hi, morning everyone. Thank you, Aman, for that introduction. Many of you may be wondering why me and Dr. Aman are talking to one another like this. It's because we're in different parts, just to make sure that this conference runs smoothly. So if you see one of us disappear from the screen, don't worry, the conference will still continue. So yes, thank you for joining us this morning. Really appreciate you doing so. Just to give you a bit of background about myself, as Dr. Aman kindly mentioned, I'm a GP myself. I'm now the chair of Aurora Medical Education. I had a passion for medico-politics and held various roles with the BMA, the British Medical Association, who is one of our sponsors today, and there's a handout available. Those of you who are using a mobile, please click on the 3 dots at the bottom, and that will enable you to ask questions and access the handouts. But just to give you an idea, I've held national and local roles, mostly around GP, but I've also been a GP stage 3 assessor. I've also been an ambassador for HEE. So I do understand the issues that many of you face, as well as the organizations that are out there to help you. So the aim of these conferences are really to ensure that you get the information you need to progress in the careers and get the support that you need on your career journey. So just moving on, Dr. Aman, if we could talk about what's going to happen today. So our plan, I know it's quite small for you to see on screen, but just to give you an idea, we're kicking off the conference with our honourable speaker, Dr. Ananta Dave, who's kindly agreed to give our keynote speech. We're looking forward to that. We're then going into emergency medicine. We're covering a range of specialties, so emergency medicine, psychiatry, general practice, core medical training, radiology, obs and gynae, surgical training, ophthalmology, pediatrics. So a range of specialties. I know a lot of you are asking about subspecialties in the chat as well. Our speakers will try to address some of those. And Dr. Aman will be touching upon exams. I know a lot of you are asking about the PLAB and MSRA exams. Dr. Aman will touch upon those in his talk. So that's the plan for today. Plenty of breaks. Do take a break from the screen when it is a break, just so that you're fresh to learn and hopefully you find the day useful. So shall we start our conference then? Oh, sorry. Yes, just to mention our partners and sponsors for today. So a huge thank you to MPS. They're an indemnity organisation. Some of you may have heard of them. If you haven't, please click on the links in your registration email. There's some information, and we'll also upload a handout for them giving you some more information about the importance of indemnity for IMG doctors. HE have kindly sponsored us, and they've got some information as well regarding GP recruitment specifically. The British Medical Association, lots of you ask about whether you should become BMA members. Please have a look at the handout that's currently available to you from the BMA. Or click on the link that's in your registration email. And if you just want to find out some more information about the BMA, then please just sign up to their newsletter. And last but not least, the Savvy IMG team, we really appreciate their support. We work closely with them, and please go onto their website, and they have a course for specialty training as well. So please go to their website and check it out. Lots of useful information going into more detail about various specialties and routes that you can take. They've got lots of useful free guides on their site as well. So please check out our various sponsors links on your registration emails and the handouts that we will upload. So please check them out, and thank you again to our sponsors who enable us to make this day possible for you.
Okay, guys, so we've got, sorry, Pooja, just before I we crack on, I've just put another link, guys, in the chat. A lot of people are saying, what's the best way to invite people in? I've just put the link once again in the chat. If you know of anybody, any friends, any colleagues, if you know any WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, Facebook groups, anywhere where you think there are doctors, medical students in the UK or abroad who may benefit from this conference, now that you've heard a bit about what's going to be involved, please do share that link. Okay, it's completely free. We want to try and add as much value as we can to as many doctors as we can worldwide. So please do, I encourage you to copy that link from the chat and just paste it into groups wherever you are in, and hopefully we can get a few more people on board to try and help them as well in what is a very challenging and worrying time sometimes when you're making these big decisions about working going forward. Now, let's get a bit of interaction going firstly then. So let's try and find out where you guys are in the world. If you're in the UK, please put down the city that you're in. If you're international, put the city or the country. It'll be great to know a bit of a spread about where you guys are in the UK. So let's get a bit of ideas as to where we're coming through. So we've got London, Birmingham, Manchester. From India, great. Whereabouts if you're in the rest of the world, which cities? Pakistan, Ukraine. We've got Senegal, we've got Qatar, we've got Dubai, Islamabad, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Colombo, Hyderabad, Pune, Leicester, Birmingham, Saudi Arabia, London, Turkey, Istanbul, fantastic, Saudi Arabia again, Chennai. Let's keep them coming, guys. It's great to see you. Trinidad, Jordan, Amman, Kerala, London, Nigeria, fantastic. Beaconsfield, great. Birmingham, London, lots of Londons as always. Manchester is common as always. Iran, fantastic. Where else have we got? Tunisia, Philippines, Spain. Let's get some more names. We've got Guadalajara in Mexico, Jordan, fantastic again. Nigeria, lots more in the UK. We've got Glasgow, Canada, Greece, Cardiff, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Pakistan. Amazing. Lebanon, thank you. They're all flying in. Doha, Amman, Myanmar, Aylesbury. Awesome. This is so great to see so much spread amongst you guys. It's great to see you all in the different parts of the world. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not sure what time zone you're in, but it might be morning, it might be afternoon, it might be nighttime. Coventry, fantastic, a bit closer to home. But yeah, once again, really appreciate it. And I do hope it's going to be of some value because some of you guys will inevitably be in the middle of the night. We've got Sydney, Cyprus, Oxford, Mumbai, Paisley, fantastic, amazing. Thank you so much, Mangalore. They're all flying in. I can't mention every single one, but it's great to see that you guys are on board and taking a keen interest in your careers, even though you're not currently in the UK, Indonesia, Jakarta. Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to launch our first poll quickly. So we just get this one up. Very simple one. So we've had a bit of an idea about which cities and towns you're in. Let's make it a bit more official. How many of you guys are currently in the UK and how many of you guys are currently outside of the UK? There should be a poll that's just jumped up on your screen. Like I said, these are completely anonymous. They're very useful for us to know and how to guide these talks. So please do click something, either A or B. Are you in the UK or are currently outside the UK? We're going to get 70% of votes before we close the vote. We're up to about 40%. So please do click something, guys. It's really useful for us to hear these kind of things. And again, like we said, tailor the content more accordingly to you guys. So are you currently sitting in the UK in one of those cities that have been mentioned, or are you currently sitting abroad somewhere else? Up to 65%. Let's get it up to 70% before we close. 67, 68, 69, 70%. Fantastic. Let's close that down and share the results. So about 3/4 of you are outside the UK and about 1/4 of you are currently within the UK. And that's probably similar, Pooja, I think, to the last year's one that we did, isn't it? We had a majority of people who are currently outside of the UK planning their next moves into the UK, planning specialties, maybe preparing for PLAB, I guess. And then around 1/4 of you, I guess, are going to be having completed PLAB, maybe on clinical attachments, maybe you're in F1, you're in FY2, and you're thinking about your next stages in your career. So thank you so much for filling in that poll. We do have an offer, as we always mention in our conferences. We currently have a blanket 15% offer on anything on the website at present. We know a lot of you guys are preparing either for MSRA at this point or PLAB 2, PLAB 1, medical school. I'll be going in more detail about the kind of courses and things that we offer in the GP talk a little bit later on. But if you know what you want already, if you're looking for this coupon already, then the coupon is CONF15SAVE, CONF15SAVE. This will be valid until midnight tonight. So if you want to use any of our all-in-one packages, online courses, audio courses, live courses, mock exams, or flashcards, as you guys know, we try and teach in as many different formats as we can to find the one that meets you best, then please do make sure you use that coupon today to get 15% off any resource on the website for the rest of the day. Okay, so we're going to move on to the first session now. We have two amazing speakers. We're really lucky, as Dr. P.G was saying, to have our keynote speak to kick us off today, Dr. Ananta. She's got some really, really amazing things to tell you guys, and I've seen the slides. They look really inspiring, so I'm really glad that you're here for the first part of this. And then we're moving straight on after this into our first specialty, emergency medicine, by Dr. Anup, who has actually been on nights last night. So I'm not sure if he's managed to join us yet, but we really appreciate him coming on board. But I think Pooja is going to do a quick introduction to Dr. Ananta before we kick off our first talk.
Hi, so as you can see, Dr. Ananta has kindly joined us. Hi, Dr. Ananta, thank you for joining us this morning. So as we said, we are very privileged to have Dr. Ananta join us. If you have not heard of her, I'm very surprised for starters, but essentially she has many accolades to her name, and that's one of the reasons why we've asked her to speak to yourselves this morning. She's currently the president of BIPA. If you haven't heard of BIPA, it is the British Indian Psychiatric Association. Please consider checking out their website. They do lots of things to support IMG doctors, and Dr. Ananta is currently the president of BIPA. She's also the medical director at Lincolnshire Hospitals and Foundation Trust. She is a psychiatrist herself. She has got a fellowship, which is part of the Winston Churchill fellowships, that she did a great piece of work around suicide for. She holds many roles, and she is a fellow of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. So without further ado, I do apologize, we are running a bit behind, but I'll hand over to Dr. Ananta Dave. And thank you again, Dr. Ananta, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Pooja and Aman. Good morning from the UK. I'm delighted to be part of this program. Looks a fantastic program, and I was really interested in seeing the spread of people from all around the world, Aman. So it's a great privilege. And what I'm about to share with you all today are my personal experiences. So they are one person's experience, but I hope that something somewhere resonates for you all and those who are at the very early stages of their careers in the UK or are considering coming to the UK will benefit or will have something to think about or explore from some of my reflections. So thank you once again for the opportunity, and hopefully we'll have time for questions at the end. So if we could have the next slide, please. So as I've said, these are my reflections, and they do not really, I don't want to generalize them, but at the same time, for some of you, it may make sense as to what it is you've gone through. But, the important point to remember is that everyone who is considering coming to the UK or is in the UK is, you have your own unique story. So it is not about having to be like somebody else or there being a norm which you have to follow. It's about saying that what I bring, my circumstances, my experience, and my motivation is unique to myself. And therefore, my story and the way it develops will be very unique to me. And just to keep that in mind, so you have that sense of a strength that you bring, as well as any worries and anxieties that you may have while considering or having just moved to the UK. Next slide, please. So I just want to say that, as I go along, because I've been in the UK now 26 years. So it might feel like a long time ago, and it is in years, it's a long time ago, and it might feel a bit removed for those of you who have just entered the country. But I just want to say one thing, and it comes up later on in my reflections, is the first day that I entered the UK is as fresh in my mind today as it was then. And that is something that I never want to forget. I never want to forget, or I can never forget. And one should never forget what it was like when you first stepped into an unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar country, and started your career all over again. Because you forget that at your peril. If you can't empathize, or if you can't identify with somebody who's just starting off, I think it's a sad thing, because you're not then passing on, you're not enabling the next generation to come up. So for me, all the inglorious things that have happened, the glories, the support, people who have stood by me all throughout, the people from whom I had negative experiences, it's all fresh in my mind. And for me, the motto of lift as you rise is really important. So if I have managed to navigate these 26 years in the UK and done something, I would also like to give some of that insight and opportunity to everyone else. So it's taken me a long time to be, I suppose, fully proud and aware of my identity in the UK as a British Indian, which brings it with it a glorious combination of the Britishness and the Indianness of my cultural heritage. It does take time, but I think, if for those of you who have the opportunity to think about it right from the beginning, be proud of your identity and be your authentic self. It's very hard to be somebody else in one setting and try and be something else in another setting. So just be proud of your identity. A very small part of it. Now, it's a concrete thing, and it's not really a very major thing in the overall scheme of things. But when I first came into this country, I felt that I had to dress up like what would be considered the norm for somebody who was British. So I was a bit hesitant about wearing traditional attire and dress into work settings. I have now lost that hesitation, and I celebrate my cultural heritage in the form of a varied attire. Now, that doesn't mean to say that's the only thing that works, but it's just a small point that has made me feel a bit more comfortable about myself. So I'm proud to celebrate that. Next slide, please. So this is just about, a bit about my cultural heritage and my origins. So on the right of my screen, you can see the bridge. It is the Godavari Bridge, the bridge across the river Godavari in Rajahmundry in Andhra Pradesh. That's where I was born. I didn't live there for very long. My father migrated to Mumbai, Bombay as it was then. And so I grew up in Mumbai. I studied there. I went to school, medical school, did my post-graduation, MD in Psychiatry at KEM and GS Medical College, got married, and then moved to the UK to start my psychiatry rotation in the UK all over again. And I've spent most of my life in the UK, in Birmingham and the Black Country. So these are towns around Birmingham, so the main city of Birmingham and various towns around it. So that's where I spent most of my life in the UK. For the last 3 years, I've been working in Lincolnshire, where I'm medical director of the NHS Mental Health Trust. But just to say that throughout this time, when I first came to the UK, I've gone through my shares of ups and downs, difficulties in training, negotiating motherhood, maternity leave, getting back to training, trying to keep my head above water. So it's not been plain sailing, and don't let that deter you if things don't work out, at this first go every time. And also to say that although I have gone down the route of management and become a medical director and, combine it with other things, that doesn't mean to say that's the only way that you can further your career. It can be through various routes. And this is the route I've chosen and I've taken. And I hope to share some of my things with it. So right now it's a proud combination of Britishness and Indianness. And you can see Birmingham Library there in the left-hand corner, which is an award-winning building. And it is really fantastic. If any of you ever have the opportunity to visit Birmingham, if you don't already live in Birmingham, please do go and visit the library. It's a fascinating space. And that's Lincoln Cathedral, the city where I now work. Next slide, please. So, we all of us have several identities. And for me, I suppose what transcends everything else, once I became a mother, is my identity as a mother. Now, that's just very personal. It doesn't mean, it doesn't have any value judgment attached to it. Those who are not mothers or those who are not parents, absolutely fulfilling lives and huge, roles to play. In my case, for me, my mother's role has become very important, and it comes before anything else. But there are all these other roles that I have. And so I just want to say to you that I regret not giving equal attention to all parts of my roles in the beginning when I was so focused on getting my career right or on the right track. In hindsight, in retrospection, I would say, give attention to each part of you, because one feeds the other, and you're not your whole self if you just nourish one side of yourself. and let your career suffer or let your personal life suffer. So find a way of melding the whole into a rich combination. Pooja touched upon my role as the president of the British Indian Psychiatric Association. I'm the first female president of that association. It's 25 years old. And for those of you who are psychiatrists and who would like to become part of a supportive network which understands the duality of, coming across two cultures, please do consider becoming members. There's a website link at the end. I just want to say it's not restricted to those of Indian origin or those who are Indians. It is open to all. I mean, at the moment, it's a psychiatric association, but if there are any non-psychiatrists here who would like to become members, please do get in touch. We try to be as inclusive as possible because I think ultimately every profession or specialty flourishes by its connections with others, and we cannot survive in isolation. So it's open to all. And, please do consider looking it up if you're interested. It's just one of the many organizations which are available in the UK, which bring you that combination of your cultural heritage and celebration, along with a professional group as well that you belong to. So next slide, please. And I think this is the thing that I've touched upon about bringing the whole part of you to life, if you like. And I have found this a combination very life affirming, where you talk about being, becoming, and belonging. Now, being is about your identity, who you are, how you identify. What is it that's important to you? How would you like to describe yourself, and how would you like to be seen by others? How would you like to realize the fullness of your identity, whatever it is? That's about being. And I think sometimes when we move across to another culture, there is a need to conform. And I can understand that as you try and make things easier for yourself, but to not lose your identity in the conformation. Conformation doesn't mean becoming somebody else. Conforming means making yourself richer by adding something to what you already have. The other one is becoming. So, all of you are here today because you want to further in your career, make progress, either by migrating or have already migrated, and you're thinking of what you need to do to take the next steps in your career. Pass exams, start training, finish training, become a consultant, pass your PLAB exam and start the specialty of your choice. So whatever it is, that's important. So becoming whatever, and this is just professional, but there are other aspects of your lives which are equally important, which is about becoming whatever it is that you want to become. So pay attention to that as well. Is being compromising your becoming? So if you have to develop an identity, is it at the expense of having to give up some part of your aspirations? And be mindful of that. And the other one is belonging. Now, this is particularly important for all of us who are international medical graduates. And I think when you first come to a new culture, a new country, it is understandable that you feel a bit out of it all. You don't feel you fit in, and that's natural. And it's not about rushing through it or pretending that phase doesn't exist. The transitional phase exists, but it is important equally for those of us who are migrating or coming in to try and see what are the networks that we can create or become part of, so that we feel connected. We feel that we belong somewhere. We feel anchored. Equally, it is the responsibility of those who are already here, myself, for example, to do my bit in making others feel as if they belong here. And events like these are part of that. Not only do they help you with exams, but they help you connect with people all across the world, people who have similar aspirations or ambitions to yourself, people who are like you and who can help you navigate an unfamiliar landscape. So I just like to think of all these three things coming together. And frequently, when things feel a bit rough, I step back and think about where I am in this whole process. Next slide, please. So, I think most of you will be in that, most of you would be in this phase, I suppose, of learning. If you're trying to pass exams, if you're trying to, enter a new country and start off a new part of your career, etc. But what I have found, is to have that learning approach throughout life. So I still keep learning a lot. I think, get back more than I give. So by being part of this session today and sharing my insights, I get back much more, actually. I learn some more, I get more insights. So by learning, you will teach, and by teaching, you will learn. And I think not to let go of that attitude. And as I have said, becoming a senior member in my profession or a board director does not mean that I have done it the smooth way. There have been lots of ups and downs, failures and falls, and so you learn each time from those experiences. So rather than letting it diminish you, let it make you grow. Next slide, please. And the importance of asking. Now, I hesitated a long time to ask because the first thing you feel when you ask, especially when you're new, is somehow your incompetence or your naivety or your ignorance will be caught out. Believe you me, I mean, I have medical students posted with me, trainees, co-trainees, specialist trainees, middle grade, staff, SAS doctors, and I say to all of them, no question is a stupid question, so please ask. I actually like when people ask because it's a measure of their being engaged and their being wanting to learn and grow and know. So please ask. And as I said here, I mean, this is not an exhaustive list, but it helps you clarify. I mean, so many things. And asking is important because unless you ask, sometimes people don't know that you want feedback, that you need more time, that you want some more data, that you want some help, that you want to know why this particular thing matters. So ask, it's an important thing to do. Next slide, please. And, we've talked about the importance of network, and that's the link for BIPA, the British Indian Psychiatric Association, of which I'm the president. And, for those who are interested, as I said, please consider joining. We do try and provide a friendly welcome to those who are new, or even those who are established in this country. If you've not yet discovered BIPA, please do consider, because you just get to meet people who are from your part of the world. And also we come together to celebrate not only psychiatry and learn from each other, but celebrate the Indian heritage. So we just had our annual conference a few weeks ago, and we do have a family-friendly event where we encourage all members to bring their families along, share a meal, an evening meal. There's dancing, dinner, songs, prizes. So we try and make it an evening, a weekend to remember, where we are celebrating our culture as well as learning about psychiatry and from each other. And I think the other thing that I would like to say is, maybe it sounds trite, but it isn't, is when you belong to a network or when you join a network or when you interact with people, just be very, very clear about your values. I mean, what we stand for, what matters to us, what are the maxims by which we live our life or lead our life are important at every stage, whatever stage of your career you are. And don't forget that. I mean, I say later, don't forget your roots, but don't let go of those values. They are your bedrock and your foundation, which help you grow from a safe base. So I think holding on to your values and having an idea of where you want to go. Now, becoming a consultant might seem like a long way away if you've just started, training for your PLAB exam. But that's how you get there step by step. But having that vision helps you to just get there. So I would say hold on to those values, have a vision, or at least a kind of landscape of your future that you have in your mind, and try and seek out networks that support you. Next slide, please. And so these are, I suppose, some of the things that I have learned along the way, the hard way sometimes, and these are things that have helped me. So as I said, holding on to your values, learning, asking, belonging to a network, having a plan. These are things which are important, which have served me well and which I have tried to share with others. One of the other things is, especially when you come to the UK, in psychiatry definitely, but in most other professions, you learn the importance of working as part of a team, because the concept of a multidisciplinary team made up of, doctors, nurses, various allied health professionals, occupational therapists, psychotherapists, various kinds of, even if it is those who are the phlebotomists, the technicians, they all make up, the voluntary workers, the carers, they all make up a team. And the importance of the team is really important. So try and build that team and become part of that team building. Because if you have a strong team, not only can they achieve impossible things like moving mountains, but they can ward off dangers and threats like warding off sharks. And, in the age of COVID, when we are all reeling in an uncertain world, preparing for the next wave, the next, part of the pandemic, people are uncertain. The importance of teams, whether it is a team at home, being together as a family, a group of friends supporting each other, or your team at work, it can't be overstated, the importance of team building. Next slide, please. And, I love this quote by Brené Brown about, talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you love. And it's the importance, I suppose, of looking after yourself and prioritizing yourself when there are multiple competing demands. As a doctor, you're studying for exams, doing on-calls, trying to, keep the house running, doing all the tasks as you have to in the UK on your own, driving around, picking up your children, dropping them, doing the homework with them. And, at the same time, just trying to keep your head above water, trying to deal with COVID. So there's always something else which feels like it's a greater priority than you are. And, I have done that. I neglected myself in the initial stages of the pandemic because I felt that, I had such a big responsibility on me as the medical director when the pandemic struck. I immediately became responsible for the immediate welfare and safety of all the medical staff in the trust and for the quality and safety in the organization. So I felt a huge burden on me. And I know that I went, I tried to do with very little sleep. I wouldn't take any breaks. I wouldn't eat much. It affected my well-being. I did make use of, apps you get like Headspace, etc. in the UK. I didn't feel ashamed to say, look, I'm struggling. I need some time out. I need to learn basics. How do I get to sleep? Healthy sleep routine, healthy lifestyle. So that's when I realized that not looking after myself isn't going to help anyone. So do what nourishes you, whatever it is. For me, I found connecting with nature, taking photographs, just walking in the fresh air, even if it is for, 15 minutes in the middle of a day or at the end of the day, half an hour, whatever it was, just reconnecting with nature, drinking in the silence, the freshness, whatever nature gave us. I found that incredibly healing. And I started writing. Poetry. And, it could be different things for all of you. Cooking helps for some, just sitting in front of a window, watching some, funny things on television, whatever works, catching a power nap in the middle of the day or the evening. But keep yourself nourished. It's so important. Love yourself like you would love your patients and your family members. Next slide, please. And, I've mentioned this before. There are things that it's important to remember. Remember your roots. Where you come from, the cultural heritage, the richness of it is your unique identity. It is your anchor, your foundation. Don't let go of it. That's not how you become a better person, but it is by, integrating it along with what you're about to learn. So as I said, I never forget my first day in this country, the people who looked after me and treated me well. And I just say to you, just remember that. And, to celebrate your identity, your culture, your contributions. You're coming to this country not just with some anxieties and some vulnerabilities. You're bringing strength. What you have learned back home can help the NHS here or the healthcare system here. And you're human, not superhuman. I have a particular interest in the well-being of doctors, the mental health of doctors. I feel there is a huge stigma around getting help for mental health problems. And I've done my Churchill Fellowship on that, mental illness and preventing suicide in doctors. But you need to start much earlier, long before somebody becomes that ill. And I think there is a culture in medicine which promotes being superhuman somehow, right from medical school. Don't admit to weaknesses. Don't say you can't cope. Don't ask for help. Don't admit you're having mental health problems. Don't seem emotional, stiff upper lip. You might hear various versions of it, but you are human and you forget that at your peril. And as I've said, the importance of your values, relationships, the things you've learned, your mentors, your sponsors, people who have helped me right from the beginning when I didn't know what my trajectory was going to be in this country. They saw something in me, reached out to me. Those are the people you treasure, and you do the same for others after you because you always have privilege compared to somebody else. Next slide, please. And so, this is my leadership journey, I suppose, in a nutshell, or my journey in the UK about, the things that helped me. As I've alluded to all of those things here. So just something that helps me. It's my roadmap, if you like. Next slide, please. I'm not sure how much time I have, but I'm very happy to pass through the next slides. These are some of the things, in the previous slide, I've talked about finding something which rouses your passion, something which really means so much to you. And for me, being a good doctor, being a good psychiatrist being a good child and adolescent psychiatrist is extremely important. And I've done that over the last 25 years to the best of my ability. But I also want to give back to the wider field of medicine. And so some of the things that have driven me and which have made me, I suppose, step out of my comfort zone and seek other positions is, as I said, the mental health of doctors. Next slide, please. It's also about, making sure that we understand inequalities. There are various ways in which inequalities have been amplified during COVID. And if we look at all the other groups around us and think of those who might be more marginalized than us and how we can include them more into things, that makes it a better society and better place for everyone to be. Next slide, please. And something about, diversity in leadership. Now, you all might have heard of the blind man and the elephant story, and about how each of you views something from your own perspective. And none of those perspectives are complete in their own right, how much of a right they may be, but they're only one part of the whole. And the importance of that diversity of thinking and perspectives in a team is so important, which is why that multidisciplinary approach is important in your clinical work. And the diverse approach is important at board level. At board level directors, there are very few who look like us, talk like us. There are very few who are from an ethnic minority origin, fewer women of color, fewer people with disabilities. So the more we have diversity at those very senior decision-making levels of the organization, the better decisions that will be made for patients and for communities. So wherever you are able to bring that kind of diversity to your leadership, whether it's in your clinical team or somewhere else. So the importance of diversity in leadership and decision-making, really important, matters a lot to me. Next slide, please. And I suppose that's played out in COVID as well, when we see, white privileged men making decisions which then don't work for everyone else. I've talked about the importance of lift as you climb. Take others after you. If you have been given power and freedom, empower others or free others. Next slide, please. So I have come to a rambling end to my reflections and things that have helped me and have resonated with me. But this is your story, each one of you, all the 326 people on the call. You have the chance to create your unique story, whichever specialty you are coming into. So create your own IMG story. These are the seeds. And each day is a new beginning, and each ending gives us a new beginning as well. So remember that, and launch forth whatever you want to do. And next slide, please. So I just want to say that, if people do want to contact me for any general advice for anything, I'm happy to be contacted. I have a Twitter handle for those who are on Twitter. I don't use any other social media. I am contactable by email for generally any reflection, support, mentoring, or any other questions you might like. And remember, IMG also means inspirational medical graduate, because this country, in the UK, the NHS and healthcare would not be the same without international doctors. It is the richer for it, and it has been able to provide very good care because of you all. So all the very best on your journey. And I hope that you're all able to forge paths which mean a lot to you and which help you develop the fullness of your identity. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Ananta, for that very insightful talk and sound advice. I think lots of people would have been able to relate to your story and would have felt very inspired. So just a couple of questions coming through. If that's okay. Someone's asking, Ananta, is there any opportunities for clinical attachments at your trust? And if so, what's the best way of getting in touch?
Okay, so yes, there are opportunities. The short question is yes, we have over the years supported people through clinical attachments for those who are interested in having a career in psychiatry. Afterwards, some may go on to other careers, but we do have a limited number of spaces. So the best place, I suppose, would be the human resources departments, what we call the medical HR department. So I will provide that address to you, Pooja and Aman, and if you can just put it in the chat afterwards. And we'll try and see what we can do if people are interested in getting an attachment with us.
Sure, brilliant, thank you.
Ananta, firstly, thank you. Really, really good talk. I think some really inspiring words there for doctors who are at any stage of their career, really, whether they're at the beginning or whether they're already kind of halfway through. So It was really, really inspiring. And the questions come in about challenges. In this journey of yours, what was the biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
I think for me, I would say that the not being taken seriously because I was a woman, an immigrant, and a woman of color was a huge shock. I mean, to be very honest with you, I think we have to be always honest about the fullness of our cultures, the good and the bad of it. So gender discrimination, sexism is something that, I've experienced in my culture and back when I was in India as well. So it wasn't completely new to me, but what threw me, I suppose, was the combination of my ethnicity mattering so much in this country whereas you blend in India. I mean, I was like everyone else. So combination of my ethnicity, my gender, and my immigrant status. So the challenges have been many. At an individual level, it's about patients not wanting to see me because I was not a proper doctor, because I had a foreign accent. It was people just not letting me speak, or people making comments like, have you taken permission from your husband to apply for this role, and who is going to look after the children at home if you take on this role, or if you become a consultant, and how does it feel that you've not passed it? So I did not pass my MRC Psych Part 1, the first attempt, and people said and then I became pregnant, and people said, maybe, well, you should concentrate on your pregnancy first rather than trying to attempt exams. And as it happened, I took my Part 1 and Part 2 within 6 months of each other and passed them before I had my baby. So it was about people, so I think discrimination, being ignored, being overlooked, and somehow an assumption being made that I wasn't good enough at every stage. So that has been, I have experienced it right from the beginning. And it's almost as if I had to make a case for why I was ambitious. Why did I want to do more than what I was doing at that stage? So the practical challenges of passing exams while dealing with pregnancy and maternity was one. The discrimination around various characteristics or part of my identity was another. And the challenges of just settling into a new country. So I remember when I first came to this country, I was taken to the flat at the doctor's quarters, and I was given a tin opener and a can of baked beans and some slices of bread. And I didn't know what the tin opener was. So the person who showed me into the flat took me, and she gave me some bed sheets and some blankets. And she said, oh, by the way, this is for you. And she left. And I was busy just orientating myself. And I didn't sort of, think of asking her. And then I looked at this tin of beans, and I looked at this tin opener. I just didn't have a clue how to open the tin. So right from those very, practical early things about how do you, now it's a bit more different. It's more globalized, I suppose, there's more awareness of these things. We have now these things in India. In India, I hadn't seen a tin opener. I hadn't seen a proper slice of cheese. I hadn't seen butter the way it is now. I hadn't seen baked beans. Now it is different. I mean, when I visit India, my family is aware of all these things, but it's just some of the small things which can create big cultural divides. So, and when people were hugging each other under the Christmas tree, I felt so embarrassed. I didn't know what was happening. So I think cultural challenges have been many, and I think, of course, there have been times when I've, taken a wrong step, but I suppose in retrospect, I didn't let it deter me. What I would say to people is it's okay to make mistakes, fall down, stumble, get up again. It just, you never forget those lessons. It makes you